Congratulations, Sue. I was able to hear your big win, so that's awesome. Anybody else have anything before I kind of get into what I had drawn up for today? Thanks, KB, for jumping in there. All right. The topic that I had today was around luck. How's the audio, by the way?
Sounds good.
It sounds fine because, man, my video looks all choppy. So, all right, just somebody stop me.
Your video actually looks fine on my side. So.
Huh. All right. Well, I came across some thoughts around luck that I had never heard of that I wanted to share with this group. That there are. This is by a neurologist. Guy's name was Dr. James Austin, and he apparently published this stuff in the late 70s. And I think he wrote a book called Chase, Chance, and Creativity. I wrote down. So if you wanted to check this guy out, Dr. James Austin, 1978 neurologist. But he talks about the 4 types of luck, and I definitely think I've always been somebody that thinks you create balls. What happened? Am I still with you? What is going on?
We still got you, Steve. We still got you. You're fine.
I don't know. All right. So the 4 types of luck that he talks about, and me always being somebody who thought that you create your own luck, I just really love the way that he broke this down. And I wanted to share it with you, and hopefully it encourages you to understand these different types and kind of push towards them in a way. So the first one he describes as blind luck. So that's type 1. That's you hit the lottery, you get born with some great genes, you get some, the neighborhood that you're raised in, just you get some great friends out of it. There's not much that you did to kind of control those things. So that's blind luck. That absolutely happens, etc. Number 2, though, is this where we get to start into kind of your actions are creating this, and he calls it luck from motion. So that is the luck that is happening because of the actions and the movements that you're taking. So the example that he gave was you're starting a new job and you don't do the bare minimum. You take every opportunity. You try this, you do that, you go to this, and as I'm reading it, I'm going, yep, that's exactly what we see with our agents. Some of them do the bare minimum and they get the bare minimum results, and others are at every training. They do all the calls that we say to make, they familiarize themselves with all the tech that we suggest. So I 100% think that luck is coming out of these actions. The third level of luck that he talks about is luck from awareness. So this would be, an example of this might be like what's going on with AI right now. So, as an entrepreneur, you're kind of recognizing the opportunities that are out there. And because you are aware of the opportunities that are out there with AI, you can take advantage of them. And somebody might say that you're lucky, and you're going, nope, I'm just putting myself out there. I'm learning about some new stuff, and I was able to take advantage of it because of my awareness. And then the 4th level would be luck from uniqueness. So this would be going even a step deeper on awareness, where you go, I'm not going to just be aware of AI. I'm going to go deep. I am going to learn a specific piece of AI, some new apps that are out there, and it's going to put me in a position to maybe capture a new lead source. It's going to allow me to start a new business. It's, whatever the case might be. So it's going deeper. It's past awareness into uniqueness. He also kind of laid out an art and a science behind some typical timelines that you see in this, where he said that type 1, that blind luck, most of it is happening early in your life purely by chance. You had nothing to do with it. And then type 2 kind of begins in your 20s, where you're, okay, I kind of did my thing in high school and college, and now, there's a difference between people that are going out and trying to make stuff happen and people that are just kind of following the herd. Then you get into your 30s, That's where it's awareness. You've got more experiences behind yourself, especially if you've taken a lot of action in your 20s, and now you can start to see things a little bit more clearly. And then that fourth one, it can happen pretty much at any time, when 30s or later, where it's like, okay, I can see it. I think here's an opportunity. I'm going to go a little bit deeper here. And then that opens some doors for you. So I see a lot of parallels in what happens with real estate agents when you're talking about these 4 types of luck. So wanted to share it with you. Hopefully it hits home, and hopefully it'll encourage you to just take those actions. We talked yesterday about kind of going in circles, and I think, it's 100%. It is the spiral, and that's now the awareness, right? It's for a real estate analogy, it's putting a deal together and seeing a potential pitfall that might happen down the road if we accept this offer as a listing agent, because you just been down that road before, right? And so it's what we're trying to accomplish on this call, is a lot of awareness. And then sometimes we're even getting to that 4th level where we're getting to unique, we're getting down into the deep details of these deals. So I don't know, what'd you hear there? Any thoughts? Had anybody heard of this guy or the 4 types of luck? All right, well, I've learned a little something new today. I had a great song lined up for you guys today. I'll play just a quick snippet because I love my music and I hate when just gets me in a good mood. I didn't want my song to go to waste. All right, let's transition into some real estate for today. Who's got something? So you started us off with a little something. I know there's some dialogue around it. Who's got something else? What do we have that's weird going on in our world? Learned something that they can share with the group. James.
Well, this is more about potentially turning disaster into something more positive. I asked a question a week or two ago. Got a lot of great feedback from this group when I was talking about a condo I was going to put on after Labor Day, and about listing coming soon and that type of stuff, and got a lot of great feedback from you folks. In the interim period, my seller buyer in the situation moved into their new home, super happy instantly. I had the contractors, and they're all my contractors, painters, come in, start working the very next morning. Second day in, contractor hits a sprinkler with a sander and floods the place. So complete disaster. Fire department, HOA building, board involved. Everybody from here to California knew about it. And I was at a training class quite a bit from the city. Walked out to take a break and had like 10 videos and texts waiting for me. So it was about sort of coming back into that situation and doubling down on your commitment to the client. They were obviously completely panicked and overawed by the whole situation. Was able to sort of take control of it, advise them to get immediately in touch with their insurance, get the ball rolling on that, sort out the contractors, deal with the HOA, and so on. Now, 5 days later, it's calmed down into where I'm going back to my buyer. I went to their house. I sat down with them and said, look, this is, I feel for you guys. This is just horrible. But let's look at what momentum can do for us. Number one, keep busy moving forward with the insurance, with everything else, rather than just sitting and melting under the weight of this. And it's turning into something very positive, where we're actually they're going to get a claim. It's totally the contractor's fault. And they're going to come out of this really well, because what we're going to do now is list it in the spring. It's going to take 4 months at least. There's about $150,000 to $200,000 worth of damage. It's a complete regut of the condo. So we'll go to the spring, we'll list it then. They'll probably get 50 to 75K more for their house. We'll be selling a brand new house with a new kitchen, new everything. And it's just kind of going from disaster to, if you allow it to get out of control, it can become really ugly. And it was a matter of sort of finding the courage, or I don't know, I don't want to say courage but myself, but just finding the will to double down and not turn away from it and push it off to everybody else. And it's going to turn out to be a great situation, I think. Anyway, so there's always hope, I guess, is my message.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, we can turn any situation. It's just those thoughts that you're going to let come into your mind. It's something like 40 to 60,000 thoughts are going through our mind every single day. And it's which ones are you allowing to control your destiny? Because that's really what it's about. It's, you got to pass on the ones that are negative, double down on the ones that are positive, and write your own story. So it's a great share, and I'm glad it's turning out positive for you. I will say, just as an aside, when you guys are dealing with these insurance companies and insurance claims, you may find that the insured feels like they're not getting enough money, and so basically what happens with an insurance claim is the insurance company is going to send out their adjuster. They're going to come, they're going to look at it, and they're going to write their estimate, and then they're going to try and settle with the insured. You can, as a consumer, hire a public adjuster. So this would be somebody that would, basically argue and fight for you. And sometimes you're going to get stuff covered that you wouldn't have gotten covered if you had just allowed the insurance company to do their thing. So I've seen both sides of this. My first job out of college was working for the insurance companies. So I was the person going out, writing the estimate, settling with the consumer. They would give me X amount of authority. Hey, up to 5,000, you could settle on the spot. 10,000, we need a report. I don't know, 25,000 or more, we need to bring in a higher level person. And then oftentimes, if the seller wasn't okay with what we were willing to do, they would hire a public adjuster, and now I would be dealing with that public adjuster. And I will say, most of the time, those public adjusters would get some extra stuff covered when they started to fight for their client. I'm not saying that the insurance companies were asking me as an adjuster to not give what was fair. But they don't want us to, write stuff that's a kind of a gray area. If the consumer's not going to ask for it, we're going to give what we believe is kind of bare bones. An example might be, we had these claims that would be what's called a puff back. You've got an old furnace, and it can puff back and put soot into the house, right? And so the insurance company might say, hey, we will clean the basement, and we will clean all the contents of the basement. And a public adjuster might come in and say, well, I want the whole house cleaned because I think some of that soot did get to the rest of the house, and it's probably in their clothes. So I want all of that stuff cleaned. So, just one example of how they could take, it was reasonable. Most people would be okay with just clean the basement. But if they could get some extra money for doing some other things, did they really go and clean all that stuff all the time? I doubt it. So just some thoughts on public adjuster. And if you guys are running into this, and especially if you feel like your client doesn't feel like they're getting a fair shake, you might want to have a conversation with them and help them to secure one. So I know KB's husband does this in Western Mass. So if you needed somebody out in Western, I don't know, KB, do they do Mass, Connecticut?
Yep, I got a lot of people in Florida. So if you guys are ever looking for a PA in Florida, I got a list.
Yeah. So
thank you.
They obviously take a piece of the action, right? So I think they typically get about 10% of the claim. Right. So let's say I was going to write it for 5,000. PA writes it up for 10,000 and takes 1,000. So the client got 9 instead of 5 through what the insurance company was going to offer. Right. So Tracy, you've had your hand up for a while.
That was really interesting, Steve. Thanks for that. That really does give us more insight on that side of it.
Good.
So this is a really good subject today, making our own luck. I don't know if anybody on the call has done this before, but I know with the real estate industry changing right now, commissions and all that good stuff, I'm showing a property today and the commission is like totally like ridiculous. It's like I don't know, not even 1% is like some like minuscule, like maybe a rental amount of like a rental. So ridiculous. So has anybody on the call, because I have, ever written in the offer, asking for a different type of commission? I think it goes along with making your own luck, but also advocating for yourself and also thinking about your value. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, I think come August 17th, that's pretty much going to be the norm. I don't think you're going to see offers of compensation in the MLS. This is all going to be negotiated on the side. KB's got a little spot today where she's going to kind of talk about some of these forms. But basically, with your contracts, you're going to have a separate form that's talking about compensation. And so when we're sitting down with our buyers, doing our buyers consultations, you're going to be explaining to them how the compensation works, and how you're going to get paid, when you're going to get paid, and if they can't pay you, how we could get, their fees covered through the seller. KB, it looks like you want to chat on this one.
Yeah, just to let you guys know, and we're going to talk about it a lot at the meeting today. All of the new listing contracts for every state does not allow for a space for buyer compensation. So it's all about transparency, right? They're trying to make sure that the seller knows exactly what they're required to do, and it's definitely going to be something that you see on the majority of your transactions. So.
Right. So just for clarity on what she just said, right now, when you take a listing, the listing agreement says, okay, what's the total commission? What's the amount to the listing agent? What's the amount to the buyer's agent? There isn't even a line there for what's the amount to the buyer's agent. Right. So this is going to be something separate that'll be discussed. You'll have the conversation with your seller. Hey, here's reasons why you might want to offer compensation. Right. A lot of buyers are going to need it. So to not offer it would be crazy in my mind, but you got to explain to them they don't have to offer it. And then it just is going to become a negotiation. So yeah, we'll cover this a bit today. So thanks for bringing that one up, Tracy.
So just on a side note for that, because I'm not going to be able to attend that meeting, will there be a video or something that we share with those who are not able to travel
Yep.
today?
Yep.
Okay, very good.
Yep, we're going to
Okay.
record it. Yep.
All right, thank you, Steve.
Yeah, and we're going to probably do some specific training. I mean, KB is going to touch on it today, but what she's going to do is she's going to be creating a kind of a quick reference guide for you guys for each state. Here's the forms, here's what they do, here's when to use them, that type of a thing. So, each state has kind of been scrambling to get their forms out. So we didn't want to just kind of throw it all at you, mishmash. So the states are starting to get their stuff together, and we should have some good quick reference guides for you. I did want to give an update on something that I mentioned yesterday. I talked about listing agreements having some language in there that says once the listing expires, if another agent were to pick up that listing, that the new listing agent would get the commission and not the original, unless it was listed for less. There would be the difference could go back to the first one if they showed the property to the buyer that ends up buying it during the second listing, if they showed it to them during the first listing. So I'm kind of spinning in circles here. But when we look back at the latest MAR contract, I didn't look at all states, the language has been removed about the difference. But basically it says, I list your property, you owe me X amount if I sell it during my period, my listing period. If you sell it in X number of days after my listing period expires, you still owe me the money. This prevents them from moving on and just waiting until your listing expires, unless it'll say the property is relisted with another agent. And then it doesn't go on to say, at least in Massachusetts, I would still be owed the difference. I just wanted to give some clarity there. Anybody have any questions on that stuff? Okay. We got time for one more. Who's got something they want to share, something they learned? Any other questions on the insurance stuff? mean, just something that we could chat about. I've had this happen a couple of times when we were already under agreement. Fire in the kitchen. So we've got to, we list the property, we find a buyer. Buyer's going through inspections. Inspections are fine. We're trying to get our mortgage. Kitchen fire. Right. So when you look at these contracts, they typically have some language in them that will outline what is going to happen if something like that happens, if there is damage to the property. But the basic premise for most of the contracts that I've seen is that the buyer is due a property in the same condition that it was when they purchased it. Right. So in this case, if you had been under contract, James, and this happened, the buyer would have the ability to back out of that deal. They could also stay in it and wait until all these repairs are made. I believe you could even, if you structured it, depending on how you structure it, I believe they could even stay in if the mortgage company was okay with it, buy it, and then they could get them insurance proceeds, right? If that's what you guys negotiated. So there's a lot of different ways to handle it as long as all parties are okay with how it gets handled. If one of these things was to happen during one of your deals.
Thank you. That's super helpful.
Yep. KD.
Yeah, I actually have a fun story. I had one time a buyer. She was purchasing a property in Springfield and wound up when we did our inspections. Inspector came out, found a bunch of like mold-like substance in the basement. We wound up having a certified mold person go out and take a look at it, and come to find out the entire basement was full of mold. So rather than us backing out of the contract, the seller wound up filing a claim with their insurance company, hiring a PA because the mold was due to ice damming from a leaky roof and something else. So the insurance company was able to cover the mold because the PA fought for the additional issues. And then we wound up not having to pay to have any of the mold remediated. They wound up with a completely new basement and got the house for the same exact price. So some of it was the seller's agent didn't really negotiate very well for their client, but the other part of it was that we did use that additional resource to be able to get the repairs done and it not come out of anybody's pocket. It did take a little bit longer, obviously, but we got it done, and it was just a really great story.
Very cool. Very cool. Just that's the awareness of just being in the business for a bit, right? So we're doing a deal. It looks like it's going to fall apart because of a repair issue. And then KB's smart enough to go, wait a second, you guys might be able to put an insurance claim in for this, right? Talk to the listing agent. Hey, would your people be okay with putting a claim in? Get that fixed. Not going to cost them anything. We get what we want, and then we buy it, right? So that's, that's creating your own luck. We are full circle, KB, on today's episode. But that's level 3. That's awareness for sure. So great share. Another great topic today, a bunch of different topics actually. So appreciate you guys chiming in on everything. Sorry about the tardiness this morning. I appreciate you guys kind of getting by without me. We will do it again tomorrow morning, same time. All right. Have a great Tuesday. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day.